Right, so the next plan of action, now that the car is actually up and running and being used as a daily driver, although it's not without its issues, still burning more oil than I would like, and I've got a few warning lights here and there that I'm trying to narrow down that I think are oil related. They'll be in a separate video. I've decided that I'm so far into the car now and I've spent so much more on it than it's worth. I may as well just keep spending and actually turn it into something that's nice, really nice, and will last a long time. So we are going to put in a leather interior. Managed to find this complete leather interior delivered on a pallet for 180 quid. 120 quid for the interior, 60 quid for delivery to the door on a pallet. So you can't argue with that at all. That is a bargain every day of the week. And they are heated. So I am reliably informed that the wiring looms aren't any different to the loom that's underneath just for the airbag and seatbelt circuit warning lights. The heated seats, I'm assuming, just take the current from the loom that's already there, and I don't need to do any clipping wires or soldering. It's just a straight swap of looms. I could put these straight in and it would be an improvement over the worn, torn cloth interior that's in it that occasionally smells slightly of baby sick. But I'm going to have a go at restoring them. They are in really good condition for what they are. I'm not going to complain at all. As I say, they will go straight in. But there is the usual wear on these, on the side bolsters, and down here. This is the driver's side, so it's got that usual little bit of scuff and wear on the threads where people are getting in and out, and the leather's starting to wear. There are cracks. Passenger seat is the same on the other side, although not as bad. What I'm going to do, if I can, is just swap these bolsters over so that the driver's seat, the bottom of the driver's seat becomes a passenger seat and vice versa, and that way when you're getting in and out of the car, the driver will be getting out of the, or rubbing on the inside of the passenger seat, which so far has had very little wear. That will help even that wear out a little bit. And I'm also going to get a leather restoration kit, sand the leather back a little bit, re-dye it, although I'm going to keep it black, but I'm going to put fresh black on it, and reseal it, get some filler for some of these cracks, and then re-lacquer it. I'm going to do it all properly using professional grade equipment. I've never done it before, but I mean, can I make it worse? Well, maybe. Can I spend a week on it and a couple of £100 on material and have it look exactly the same? That's possible as well, but who knows? Who knows? So yeah, a little bit of filler for some of these cracks here. These you can actually feel. The leather itself feels dry, and you can sort of see where it's, you squeeze it and it looks like it might crack rather than just bend. So I think this leather has been neglected. It's got that kind of sheen to it that leather that's not really clean has. I mean, leather really should be matte, should be a very matte finish, and that isn't. The white thread has, there, man, that's pretty bad there. So with the recolouring, I'm just going to colour all this white thread black, which will I think make it look a little bit better, because I mean this white thread's dirty anyway, and will help hide some of the fraying. And then when I respray and re-lacquer it, that will also hopefully help hide some of this fraying and make it look a little bit better. I can't change the seats over, swap the seating positions because of the airbags. This bit here on the passenger side has to stay on the passenger side because that's where the airbag lives. So if I swap these over, the airbag will be on the inside, which is no good. So that's the plan. Go around all of these, dye it, change the stitching to black, clean everything up, re-lacquer it, and see what happens. Alright, so step one of sorting this leather interior out is we are going to just cover the whole lot in leather balm, no cleaning material or anything like that, just the balm. And we're going to put a load on and then stick it all in bin liners and let this leather balm just sweat into the leather and leave it for a week, because this is, you can feel that the leather's quite brittle in places where I suspect it's had very little care. See, that's got, you can sort of see how dry that is. That's not really far off cracking. And I suspect what with these little Peugeots being cheap cars, people just think, oh, leather interior, nice, and then that's it. So it's well overdue, You can feel how dry this is. So this is going to go on and just sweat into it for a week. People get a bit snooty about Autoglym stuff on occasions, because, oh, you just get it from Halfords, which is true. But I had a big Audi that I bought brand new with a full leather interior, and I put this stuff on it religiously twice a year, every 6 months, once in the winter and once in the summer, and I kept that car for 9.5 years. And when I sold it, the bloke I sold it to thought that I'd put a new interior in it, like factory new interior, because it looked factory. So I know from personal experience that if you use this stuff regularly, it works. Hopefully just leaving it on, letting it soak in for a week, will make these a bit more, put a bit more life into this leather, so that when I go to lacquer it, once it's all recoloured, the moisture from this will already be in it, and then I won't be trying to moisturise leather with a fresh lacquer on it. So that's the plan. Well, so if that's probably half of that bottle of Autoglym rubbed on by hand. I started with this seat, went all the way around, did all the rear seats, door cards, etc. And then this seat, and then when I finished doing this seat, I went back to that one, and it was bone dry. It had soaked everything in. So I've gone round again with a second layer, and I've just put a third one on now, which is still sort of still soaking in a little bit. So there's obviously plenty of scope for moisture to be drawn into this still. Well, step one of the leather interior is over. That's all been wrapped in bin liners for the last week, covered in leather care balm. And does this look? It still feels soggy, which is good, I suppose. Oh, it does feel different. Yes, that feels different. It does feel more supple. Well, it has made a difference, actually. I mean, obviously you're not going to be able to see that on the camera, but a nice good clean now. It's still a bit crinkly though, look. It's still very dry. That's a week of soaking. It soaked all of that up, because that is pretty dry still. You can still see where that leather is still quite dry after a week of being sat with leather balm all over it. And here feels better. Well, so next step now will be to clean all this up and get on with the dyeing, I suppose. Yeah, okay, well, that's more moisturising than it's had in the last God knows how long. Not quite sure how old this interior is. Yeah, look, that still looks dry. That still looks dry, even after a week of sitting there soaking. It soaked all of that in, and that's bone dry. I might put some more on. And let it soak in again. Did not expect to have to do that. Right, well, we've given up trying to swap those side bolsters around. Instead, I've just stuck a load more of the auto glim on. That is now, you can't really see through that, but that's easily half of that bottle has gone onto these seats and the door cards over there, and it's still soaking in. So these really were very dry, but they're getting to the point now, the seats, where you can massage these in, massage the last coat in, and the leather's starting to feel a bit more supple, and it's these anyway, the back seats still feel a bit greasy. So I think the back seats have got to saturation point, I suppose, with regards to the moisture in the oils that's in that leather balm. So that's a good sign. That means they are nicely moisturised now. The side bolster, there's still dry patches there after some more was massaged in by hand. That's still looking dry, so there's still room for some more moisture to go into those. The headrests there's residue on there now that isn't soaking in any further, so I think that's as much as that's gonna take. But they feel better. They do feel softer now, and I think they're going to be in a better position for the cleaning, and which is going to dry them out anyway. So I didn't want to just go straight into cleaning these seats when they were as dry as they are and risk really drying them out. The cracks are still quite visible, but I've got a furniture clinic repair kit here. We'll go into that in a bit more detail when I come to use it. But yeah, this seats are, I think, now in a position where they can be attacked with the solvents and the chemicals to get the old finish off and painted without risking doing an awful lot of damage with over drying them. Got enough moisture into them now where I think they can be worked. They definitely feel better and they look better. So I think we're good. Peter couldn't swap those cushions over, but it's not insurmountable. Okay, so it's had a little bit of a vacuum under there. Now it's a upholstery brush and a nice good squeeze of this, which, as you can see, is clearly predator blood. Very good at cleaning up leather, apparently. So here we go. Let's get scrubbing, and we'll give it a scrub, and then we'll run a corner into all the creases, and we'll see what comes out. Alright, well, one nice scrub all over, and that cloth isn't actually anywhere near as dirty as I thought it was going to be. So this seat didn't actually have that much ingrained dirt in it in the crease here. I thought it was going to be worse, but really not bad. Really not bad. You see the odd little scuff there, here and there, but yeah, I do think these will clean up okay. Okay, so leather interior re-dyeing and fixing up. I have emailed a company called Furniture Clinic, who have sent me a kit. So I have a repair add-on and a large colouring kit. All in all, this is 100 and something ish pounds. Comes in two bits. The repair add-on is this stuff here, the heavy leather filler and glue and the little palette knife thing to fix up any stains. Most of the rest of it is the leather colouring kit. So you get some couple of colours of bottles, some prep, some alcohol cleaner, matte or gloss leather finish. You mix the two together for a satin finish, and 3 cans of airbrush propellant. I've got 4 cans here because the original box they actually sent me out only had 1 can in it. So I emailed them and said it's supposed to be 3 here, and they were very apologetic and sent me out 3 fresh cans. So I've actually got 4 because they cocked up, but they were apologetic and fixed it very quickly, so I can't really complain about that. And your airbrush attachments, better quality than I was expecting it to be. That's glass, that's not plastic. This is plastic, but it seems like fairly good quality. You've got an adjuster nozzle there, a little air hose which goes onto the top of the compressed air in the can. What else we got here? Some Crosslink Eco. I think this is to help the lacquer bind to the leather. Not quite sure what that is. Oh, leather binder. Oh, okay, yeah. So that's like for strengthening the leather before you put filler in, I believe. Heavy filler I don't think we're going to need because I don't have any holes or anything like that. Glue I don't think we're going to need because we don't have any tears. Flexible filler we are going to need because there's a few large creases and things that need to be sorted out. A couple of Scotch-Brite pads. What is that? It's like a very fine sanding pad, I think. That is a bit of cloth to use as a base that came with the repair kit. If you have a tear or a hole, you sort of wheedle that underneath the tear and then use the heavy filler, I believe, to sort of sit on top of it and make up your layers. And some applicator pads, some airbrush instructions, and some colour kit instructions and the repair add-on instructions. Excuse me. Oh, high pollen count today. So, here we are, and some little latex gloves, a little stirring thing, some a little mixing thing, another bigger mixing cup. Everything you need, really. And all in all, with the repair add-on, I can't remember now, because it's been sat here for a good few weeks, but it was 100 and something quid, 115, 120, 130, can't remember. But that's it anyway. So this is what I'm going to use to hopefully fix up the interior of the Peugeot, the new leather interior that we've already looked at. And we'll see how we get on. I've not used this stuff before, but the instructions are very comprehensive. They've got a few YouTube videos, and there are some other sort of YouTube car channels that have used this. Cars with Paul, Cars for Paul, can't remember now. The big black guy, very well spoken, he's used this, and it looks like he had really good results with it. So we're going to crack on and see what happens. Okay, so this is the driver's side chair or seat. Obviously I'll do all the interior, but the only one I'll film will be the driver's side because this is where there's the most work that needs doing. We're in the garage now on a changeable day weather-wise, so the visibility is not very good. I'm actually wearing a head torch to throw a little bit of extra light on. So down this side isn't too bad. I will take these off and respray the red so they look a bit better. This is where the bulk of the work is. It's going to need to be done, filling these, making them look a bit smoother, and then attacking where this is starting to wear here and along this seam and up here. Trying to do this and not get the shadow of the phone in the picture, so I'm wearing a head torch. So yeah, apologies for the camera work and the lighting. So this here, where you've got some minor wear, I think is where that liquid leather binder comes into effect, and I believe you're also supposed to apply it to creases and cracks before you start the filling process. So this is it. So we'll do a step by step and we'll see how we get on, but this will be the only seat that I actually film. I haven't figured out how to get this off, So I think it's just going to be a case of having to sort of spray around this as best as I can with it masked up. But it might just it might move enough and twist around enough for me to be able to do it. If not, I suppose I just have to spray it with the seat fully back and then move the seat forward so that this part becomes more visible up here. But I do need to have the seat fully back because I need to be able to get into the very back here for spraying and cleaning. Anyway, let's just start getting on with it and see how we do. So step one, then I spray with some all-purpose cleaner, microfiber cloth, just get any obvious dust off, and then we'll start with the stripping of the old finish and sanding. Okay, first stage after a nice clean with some all-purpose cleaner is the leather prep. So the idea apparently is take these cotton wool balls, stick them all in here, fold that over, soak it with the leather prep, and then rub everything down. So we'll get on with that. I can't film this and also actually do it, so you just have to take my word for it. This is what's going to happen next. These gloves are going to go on so that no oils from my skin get transferred into the leather, because once the old finish is off, this will just be bare leather. So we'll I'll just do this now, and then we'll get on with the prepping for filling of these little cracks. Okay, well that's stage one. That's everything wiped down with an abrasive pad and the leather prep, and then it's been wiped over with a cotton cloth, and that's what's come off. So that tells me, because it's black and I've already cleaned it, so that shouldn't be dirt, so that tells me that that should be dye, which means hopefully I have taken off the original lacquer and I'm now down to mostly bare leather. So next up is filling, I suppose, and prepping these cracks. I think that's the next stage. Okay, that's everything rubbed down with the solvent or the leather prep, and then the leather or the alcohol cleaner. So there's the alcohol cleaner there. I've just rubbed that down with that bit of tissue that's on the floor, and this was the leather prep to take off the old finish. So we should now be at bare leather. So now it's time for the binder, which goes on anywhere where you've got weak spots. So I'm going to put a little bit on here, and I may just run a little bit along this stitching here, and this stitching, this is where you get the most friction getting sort of in and out, and I reckon for very minor cracks like what we've got here, you can use a little bit. Well, I'm a little bit worried about these perforations. What I don't want to do is for this binder to fill up these perforations, so I'm wondering whether just to leave this. I'm not really sure. I might maybe just try one a little bit and see what happens. There's no real cracks on the perforated bits or any of the other seats, like the back seats, where it's going to be less visible. So who knows, but definitely on this stitching where it is weak, when you can see it is starting to fray a little bit. Is that a little hole there? And there's a little hole there. That might just sort that out with the filler. I think that's tiny. And there's my index finger. So that is a tiny little bit of a hole, 1 millimetre. So yes, a little bit of leather binder, a few coats, dry it off, put it on with that little bit of sponge, and then hair dry it apparently. Right, I'm going to see if I can just film a little bit of this. So we're on coat 4 of the leather binder stuff. I may just put in a little bit on a bit of a sponge, and it's like a very light liquid, and I've just been rubbing that where I think I need some extra strength. So down this seam where this stitching is, into where these cracks are, and they reckon sort of 5 or 6 coats, but I'm conscious of the fact that this is actually, apart from that tiny little hole there, this damage is really fairly minor, and this is just really for sort of long-term strengthening to give this stitching a little bit of a hand. I was hoping it would sort of tamp down the loose fibres of the stitching a little bit more, but it hasn't done. But once it's dyed and the stitching's black, that won't matter so much. So these coats really are just for strengthening. I think this will be the last one. This will be, I think, 5 coats, and then I shall put some filler in these cracks. I have put a little bit along here. Again, just for strengthening. This is kind of a friction point, and you can see where wear is starting to set in. A few cracks here. Don't want to fill up the perforations though, so I'm just going to be very light with this. Again on here, just where the wear zone is, or the weak spots is. This is the inside of bolster, so there's not going to be too much wear on this, I don't think, but might as well do it while we're here. And just where these cracks are here, get some into there. And I need a little bit more. And then it's going to be filling after this, I think. Let this dry with a little hairdryer, and then a squish with some filler. Right, this is a bit hard to see what I'm doing through the lens and also film it, so I'm just going to turn this off. I'm not sure you're supposed to do great big swathes of the leather with this binder, but again, this is the outside edge side bolster, and this is all the friction where you get in and out of the car, so it's I don't think it's going to do any harm. Anyway, well, I'm going to just crack on now. Okay, well that's about 4 or 5 coats, I think, of the leather binder. I don't know if it's done much for any of those minor cracks up here. I can still see these cracks here on the side, but again, it's an old car, it's fairly cheap leather. I mean, well, the history of these seats are unknown, to be honest, because I've got them off eBay. The main thing I wanted to do with that leather binder was run over this stitching. This is the high friction point, so that's 5 coats now, I think. Could be 4, and I think it's 5 on these high friction points. So what I'm going to do now is, with this leather filler, stick a little bit in this hole here and along these cracks. I'm not going to film while I do this because I think it's going to be too much to concentrate on. So I'm just going to get on with it, and I'll show you when it's done. Right, so there's the first layer of the flexible filler. It's just lightly got into all of the larger cracks. I haven't bothered doing anything down here. I think hopefully the leather binder will be good enough for that. So I'm going to let this dry, give it a little whiz with a hairdryer, let it dry, give it a very light sand, stick another coat on, and see how we get on. It will look worse until the paint goes on. These were the bad areas here. I'm really conscious of not wanting to put too much in this area because I don't want to sand the thread. So it's kind of where do you strike the balance between making this stronger and trying to repair it without also having to weaken it again through over aggressive sanding because you put too much on. So this is the going to be the problem corner. But as long as the filler takes the edge off the larger cracks and leaves a little bit of patina, I'll be happy. So bit of a hairdry, maybe another coat, or sanding another coat, and we'll see what it looks like. Right, so this is the 4th layer of filler that's just gone on now, and you can see now that the cracks are starting to fill up here as well. The little hole has got a decent amount in it. I think that will probably dry okay. I'm a little bit disappointed that the stitching hasn't tamped down a little bit. It doesn't really look good at all, that stitching. I was hoping that leather binder would kind of dampen it all down and make it sort of stick a bit more. It'll look better once it's all black, I think. The important thing is these cracks have now got a decent amount in them. So another blast with a hairdryer, let it cure for a little bit. Might give that bit there a little scrape before I start drying. And then a little sand and see what it looks like. Okay, we're 5 coats in. We've used probably a third maybe of that. Up there, that looks pretty bad. But once it's sanded, it should look okay, hopefully. I think that hole has got enough in it at least to hide it, if not completely cover it up. I've been using a hairdryer to dry the layers so far, but I'm going to let this air dry, let it dry slowly and hopefully reduce any shrinking, and then it'll be a case of giving it a little sand. And once it's painted up, we'll see how it looks. But this bolster, the door side bolster on the driver's seat, I'm now going to say is done. We'll see what it looks like once it's sanded and painted. Alright, just a quick little extra while we're waiting for the seats over there to dry. We're going to try and sort out these pink faded seatbelt buttons, so they'll be masked up. I'm going to put a little bit of primer on them, paint them up with just some Humbrol enamel paint, and then just put a bit of automotive like bodywork clear coat over the top and see how they turn out. Right, I've moved position slightly so they're actually underneath a proper light rather than having to use that head torch, which is causing problems. Well, I think I might have to revert back to it sooner or later. So sanding time now. That's 4 coats of, maybe been 5 coats, can't remember now, on the side bolsters. Tiny little bit on here. Could maybe put a bit more on there, to be honest, to fill up some of those a little bit more, but I'm not too worried about those ones really. It was this down here was the major issue on this side bolster. So a little bit of sandpaper now with the kit that they've provided, and then a wipe down, and then it should be ready for spraying. So I need to concentrate on this. I'm going to stop filming and we'll see how this looks when I'm done. Right, well that's a little bit of a sand. I've used mostly that side and then a little bit of the superfine side. It feels a little bit smoother. I don't know realistically how well these things here are going to come out. That still looks a little bit scrappy up close, but I don't know what I could have done there other than just re-stitch it. But again, as I've said, hopefully once the black paint goes on, that will tidy that up a little bit, or at least disguise it. This, I think, will look a bit better once it's all sprayed. There's still going to be some creases. I haven't gone mad with everything. This bit here has had 1 or 2 very light touches in on this bolster. I probably could have put a bit more on in here and up here if I wanted to go mad. But I think the cleaner and tidier make some of it, the less polished bits are going to show. So I don't really see the point of having one part of it look absolutely perfect as brand new, because then everything else is going to look a bit wonky by comparison. So I think this will be an improvement. Does that need another little bit? I think that's just a natural bump in the leather there. Certainly when you run your finger over it, it feels smoother, although maybe not completely smooth. I think the worst of them are going to look better, and that will do. So a bit of a hoover now, and then a rub down, and then mask it up and see what happens with the spraying, I suppose. Right, I got a bit carried away there and started without filming. So the first step, they reckon, to actually doing the colouring is to take your colourant and a sponge, very lightly dab it and then just sort of go around and sort of work it in as like a very light sort of rub, which I've done. I've used this sponge really just to change the colour of the stitching, make sure I get plenty of dye on the stitching. So yeah, so the next step will be the airbrush. Now I have already done the passenger seat, which has come out okay. I will show you the bit where I filled some cracks, although don't know how well this is going to show out. So yeah, they're still visible, but they are reduced, and some of the sort of ridges where I filled are still visible. Now I sanded and sanded and sanded until it was smooth to the finger, and they're still quite visible in the light. So when you think you're done with your filling and sanding, you're not, but it's still an improvement over what was there, and I don't have miserable looking dirty off-white grey stitching anymore. So I can't complain really about the job. There was more filler on here. This is the driver's side bolster. Again, I don't know how this will actually turn out by the time it's sprayed, but the stitching is all done, nice and black. I think what I'm going to do, once it's all dry, is if I can find some very, very precise surgical scissors, just clip those little bits out. Or maybe I'm not. I don't know whether or not that's a good thing. Whether to leave a little bit of rough stitch in there is good, because it gives it a little bit of margin for error if it ever starts to work loose. So I'm not really sure. Anyway, I've got a little bit of sponging around to do, and then airbrush, which I don't know if I'm going to be able to film or not. Trying to do it sort of one-handed. Who knows? But yeah, it's coming along anyway, coming along. My hands are covered in black paint, so I might be limited filming, because I don't really want my phone to end up covered in black paint. Okay, so here's where we're at now after a couple of coats with the airbrush. The scratches are still the creases are still a little bit visible, but much better. This area up here that was really sorry looking is again better. The filler marks, and let me put this light on, see if that helps. Yeah, we're going to get that fuzzy lines again. The marks with the filler are still a little bit visible. Not so much up here, but I'll put a very, very minor amount on here. And the sanding marks, you can kind of see where the grain is a little bit lessened. The closer you look, the sort of worse it gets. But certainly from a distance, it looks much, much better than it does. Again, nice black stitching, which is what I really wanted, and the colour seems to be quite even. Now that I've sprayed it all, there's a thing there that I could have taken care of. That didn't for whatever reason, didn't see that when I was looking at the seats. This here, I suppose I could have done something with, but you end up. So I think the more you repair, bearing in mind this is not an absolutely perfect repair anyway, the more it looks like it's been patched up. There's a few sort of streak marks. So what I might do is maybe just give this one more brush over with the airbrush. The seat looks okay, the headrest. So this is going to dry for a little bit whilst I work on some of the others. I'll have a little look at the passenger seat, which has been drying for a little bit longer. So this was the area here on the passenger seat where I did some work, and again you can kind of see that it's been sanded because there's grain down here and there's no grain up here, so it's difficult to know how to judge it really. Bear in mind I've not used this before and I've not worked on leather before, really know sort of how far to go. Clearly I could have put more filler in here, and clearly I could have done more sanding before deciding it was finished. So thoughts on the kit so far. Is it amazing? No. Is it fiddly? Yes. Have they given you everything that you need to do it? I'm not convinced that they have. I am pretty much done with 2 cans. Bear in mind I've got an extra can as well of the compressed air. I'm keeping them in buckets of hot water, which is what they recommend, or warm water I should say. I'm rotating them around because they get cold quite quickly and then they stop spraying. This needs constant adjustment, fiddling with the little nozzle to get airflow. If you've got them too warm, you just get massive clouds of freezing cold air coming out of there. I know paint. There's a little needle there for unblocking the thing. I've got way too much colour. I don't think I'm even halfway through this bottle. Probably maybe not even a quarter. And I've got a whole other bottle to go yet. So I've got far too much colour. But I suppose I am just touching up an existing colour rather than trying to do a full colour change. The leather prep, I really had to meter that out, and that is now, I mean that's empty, nigh on empty. There's really very little in there. So the solvent to remove the interior, the existing leather finish, I've used that all up, and I'm not convinced that I've done enough to get all of the finish off. The compressed air, I'm not convinced is enough to totally spray, or certainly not to change a colour and lacquer an entire interior. Although to be fair, this is just the large kit, not the extra large kit. The extra large kit does contain more of everything, but that is for 2 large front seats, front and back, 3 back seats, and the full set of 5 door cards. What I've got is 2 front seats, 1 set of door cards, 2 tiny little leather inserts, and a very, very small 2-seater bench seat at the back, because this is a 2-seater, 2-door 2-seater in the rear. So it's basically a 4-seater car. It's only got 2 seatbelt slots. So I thought the large kit might be enough. But what I'm going to do, or what I am doing, is going to cheat a little bit, and I'm just going to sponge the leather onto these doors and the rear inserts. I'm not actually going to use the airbrush because I'm not convinced at all that I've got enough air in the kit. Leather cleaner, the alcohol cleaner, I'm probably about half a bottle of that left. So I think there's definitely enough of that. There is definitely more than enough colour, for me anyway, more than enough. I don't think I had enough leather prep solution, and I'm not convinced I've got enough compressed air to do everything. I mean, there's nothing stopping you buying more bits, I suppose. But yeah, a sort of all-in-all kit for doing everything, I don't think so. But the extra large kit, I think, would probably have been too much. This airbrush is a little bit fiddly. I haven't had it clog, but it seems to be a bit temperamental with regards to the compressed air as to how well it works, and it needs a lot of adjusting. But all in all, if we go back to the actual front seat that I'm concentrating on making a video on, is there a better way of getting more than passable results by yourself at home in a garage with no previous experience of having to work with leather? It probably isn't. Our time will tell when the lacquer goes on. But yeah, is it everything that I need? I don't think it is. Is there a better way of doing it without paying someone else to do it? No, I don't think there is either. So I think for what it is, and for the results that it seems to be giving so far, bearing in mind these blemishes here and these imperfections are my own fault, should have put a bit more filler in and spent a bit more time sanding, but it seemed okay at the time. If I was going to do this again in another interior with the same kit, would I get better results? Yeah, I expect I would, because I've got some experience with it now. But yeah, all in all, so far, Furniture Clinic leather restoration kit, as I said, it's definitely worth the money if you're going to do it yourself. Is it 100% professional results? No. Would it be if I'd used it a couple more times? Probably. I think I had a bit more experience with it, and a bit more experience of working with leather and sanding and filling leather, and I probably would have got a better result. I've done automotive bodywork before, filling and changing colours and spraying and that sort of thing, but leather's very different because it gives. So I think that's perhaps where the issue is with some of these imperfections, and up here is that it gives more than I was expecting it to. And you can see up there where I probably should have sanded that a little bit more, but I can live with it. And I'm gonna cheat the rest of the interior. Well, I'll spray the rear seats, but the door cards and rear inlays, I'm just gonna sponge the paint on. I've got plenty of sponges. I've only used one so far. About 4 or 5 in the kit. I don't know what I've done with the rest of them. Oh, some are in there. One's in there. Oh, I don't know where the others are. But yeah, I'm only gonna need that one anyway, I think. Oh, there's another one up there. So yeah, more sponges than you need, more paint than I need certainly, although if you were going to do a colour change, it probably is enough. Probably not enough compressed air, probably not enough leather prep, more than enough alcohol cleaner. But yeah, the airbrush is a bit fiddly. So that's my thoughts so far. Right, it's starting to get dark now and it's rained, which is actually a good thing because it means everything outside now will be wet and there's no wind, so there should be no dust coming in from outside, which is good. But it's time to mix up the clear coat now, the lacquer, and stick that on. And see how it goes. I'm going to adjust that masking up there a little bit. Oh, there's a little bit I need to do, a bit of touching up I need to do there. So with regards to the clear coat, I'm going to mix this up half and half because that maximises the available amount, because I don't know how much I'm going to use. So I'm just going to put half of the gloss, half of the matte, which according to this is just a satin finish, 50% gloss, 50% matte. I have got 1 full can and the dregs of a can there, and I've used up 2. So there is absolutely no way in the world the 3 cans they send is enough to do a full colour change and clear coat on 2 seats, 2 front seats and a rear seat and door cards. Not even close. I'm positive I'm going to have to order some more. So their estimations of what you're going to use are wildly inaccurate, and I've got a whole black bottle here that I've not even touched. This one is at least half full still, so I've used nowhere near the black that they've sent, and I'm well short on the airbrush propellant. But anyway, we'll crack on putting a few coats of matte on, or matte and gloss, like 50-50 mix, and see how it turns out. But I suspect tomorrow I'm going to have to order some more propellant to finish the rest. Right, a little wipe down with a tack cloth. There's a hairdryer there. There's the airbrush filled with filler and what's left in that kit. They say to give it a bit of a wipe with with a cotton cloth, and they do supply some cotton cloths, but I found they actually left more dust and bits of cotton than they took off, so I'm just going to use a regular Body Shop tack cloth. Very light wipe down, and then we'll bung on a coat and see how it looks. Right, it's pretty boring. I'll just crack on without filming the rest of this. Well, I'm 2 coats in on the seat over there. I'm onto my second bottle in the airbrush. That's what I've got left mixed up. I've done 1 bottle of that already. I'm now 3 cans down onto my last can to do 1 coat on that chair, 3 coats on that one, and 3 coats on everything else. When you look at the writing on the back, I say somewhere, spray on 3 coats, dry with a hairdryer in between. So, no chance of getting 3 coats, I don't think, out of all of this. Anyway, a bit of hairdryer action on there, and we'll do the 3rd coat, and at least that's 1 seat done. Okay, here you go. So this is it set up. I haven't filmed any of this yet, because I'm having to sort of hold this can to stop the lead from bouncing into things. So there's the full airbrush, little nozzle there. There's your trigger, runs off that can, and you just I don't know if I'm about to do with this without it falling over, but I'll give it a try. How much lead have I got? Oh, it's getting tangled up already. Hang on, give it a pull. There we go. That's better. So hopefully I can do this without this falling off. So it's just like this, really. It's as simple as that. It's exactly what you'd expect an airbrush to do. It's hard to do this with one hand and concentrate on the screen and what I'm doing. I've oversprayed that already. So yeah, I'm going to turn this off, but that's basically how it works. Right, back of the door card, got some nice new poppery things to pop on. Yeah, so the start of the leather going in now, which is not before time. Alright, finishing touches to the front seat belts. Now they've been painted. That is just some enamel model paint. There's no primer underneath that, because when I first tried to do it, the paint didn't set on top of the primer. And I'm not going to put clear coat on top, because I'm not convinced that once it's done I'll be able to polish it and not lose any of the red underneath. So that is just enamel paint, and we'll see what happens. Finishing touches, got some nice fresh sticky backed felt to put on them, and then they're going to go on the seats, and then with a bit of luck all in the car, and that'll be the interior done. Well, new floor mats to go in, and the plastic trim around the air vents and such forth. But we're on the home straight now, fingers crossed, unless anything goes horribly wrong. Okay, so the leather interior is done and in the car, and I'm really pleased with it. This is where it was looking a bit scabby down here, and again on this side it was looking a bit scabby. There was quite big not cracks that gone all the way through the leather, but certainly blemishes. Now if you look really closely you can see where I could have put a bit more effort into filling and sanding this back here and here, but I've never done this before, so on balance, some arsehole in a motorbike thinking he's clever. So the damage that was here, where it was starting to look sort of visibly scuffed even from a distance, from standing out just outside the car, you wouldn't really know. It looks really good. The back seats where there wasn't any damage, they just needed to be repainted, and I mean you'd be hard pushed to say that they weren't brand new. Painted the seatbelt buckles, they've come out quite nicely. The seatbelt buckles in the front again have come out nice, and there's nice new felt on them as well, so there's no sort of scabby bits of cobwebs and stuff that were on it. Go around to the passenger side. Again, there are quite a lot of cracks on this seat bolster here. And again, you can still kind of see that they're there, and you can see here where I could have probably put a bit more effort into sanding, but it seemed okay visibly when to the eye. It seemed all right. I think because I'm used to doing bodywork sanding, automotive sanding, and it doesn't give, whereas leather does. So when you're pushing on it, it's sort of flexing, and I think maybe that's why it doesn't. It hasn't come out perfect, because it was kind of giving, and I could have done it maybe just for another 5 minutes. But certainly a massive improvement on how it turned up, and even how they turned up was a massive improvement on the cloth interior that was in it. There was a big, on the cloth one there was a couple of tears here, so I'm really pleased. Got some new floor mats, the air vent surrounds have been taken off and sprayed, sanded back, primed, sprayed and clear coated where there was no silver on the actual sort of control of the vent. Now they've got a nice little dab of silver paint on them. New gear knob that I got from France, needed a bit of fiddling, but it's on now. Decent looking switches, and the sun's reflecting off those a little bit, but yeah, they look much better. Yeah, but certainly with regards to the leather, they have come out really very well indeed. I'll just want it back and have a look in here. I mean, they didn't need any sanding or anything like that. I just wanted the white stitching re-dyed black, because I think it looks a bit nicer. Yeah, I cannot tell you how pleased I am with how this has come out. It really does look like a very nice little car in here now. Leather on the doors has come out nicely. Yes, can't complain at all. It looks really good. And this stuff from Furniture Clinic has been superb. The other thing that I was worried about was spraying and lacquering with these little holes fill up, the little perforations, but they haven't done. They've really come out quite well. There's some, you can kind of tell that it's been sanded a little bit, because there's grain still here and there's no grain here where it's obviously been sanded. And again on this bit here, there's grain here, there's no grain here. Ironically, if this had been better quality leather without so much grain on it in the first place, it would have blended in a little bit better. So I'd have been able to do a better job if the leather had been better in the first place. But yeah, you can see here there's way less sort of cracking now that it's got fresh lacquer on it. These were looking sort of on the verge of cracking when I pushed into them. They seem to be much more flexible now. So yeah, all in all, this really has turned out quite a nice little interior. It's starting to get a bit windy now. I'd be surprised if it starts to rain, so I'm going to put it away. I've got to give it another couple of days before I can put any moisturiser on it or anything like that. But yes, yeah, the Furniture Clinic repair kit and recolouring kit has been excellent. Had to order some more air for the airbrush, which held things up a little bit. The kit's build is having everything you need. This isn't really true because I ran out of air for the airbrush, but they sent some more along and I got there in the end. In terms of the actual quality of the colouring and the repair and how the leather's turned out, it's superb. With a bit more experience, if I'd done this before a couple of times, I reckon I could have made this look even better. Yeah, what a very nice interior I've got now. Need to get a new steering wheel. That's the only problem really, is when you start getting bits of the car looking really good, the bits that aren't great really start to stand out. But I can certainly live with this for the time being.